We're good to go.
Yeah. All right. We're good.
All right, we're good. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to WAEofFishing. This is a channel dedicated to multi-species bass angling. So if this is your first time here, please remember to hit subscribe and hit the bell. Go back through all the old videos. I'm certain that I have a video that you're going to like because I literally do everything. Saltwater, freshwater, bank fishing, creek fishing, hiking, kayaking, john boat, bass tournaments. I just fish. So welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. This video is kind of special. This is the second one in the series, basically where you, the subscriber, get to ask me 10 questions. I was telling him a second ago that when I put it out there, I really didn't think anybody was going to bite. But a lot of people jumped at the chance to do this with me. So we're doing part 2. So ignore the big microphone in front of me. If you are new here, or maybe some of you who are not new, know I actually do a podcast with Outdoor Obsession Radio. So it's WAEofFishing, the podcast. You can find it everywhere. I do need to get some content back up there. I've been slacking a little bit. Work's been crazy. Channel's been growing, so I need to get some podcast episodes up there. If you're watching, Brian, I'm sorry, I'll get the podcast done. But go check out Outdoor Obsession Radio. There's more episodes on it than just me, but you know, WAEofFishing, the podcast. So, but enough about me. I'm gonna allow our guest to introduce himself. He is a subscriber to the channel, but unlike anybody I've had so far, he actually has his own YouTube channel also. So I'm gonna allow him to tell you guys who he is. Take it away.
What's up, guys? I'm Will. My channel is Urban Outdoors DMV, Urban Outdoors DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. We fish primarily in Maryland, but we have fished a little bit in Virginia, and we do fish in DC and Anacostia, south of the city on the Maryland side. We do saltwater, we do freshwater. Haven't done any bass tournaments like Way has. I don't have as much experience. I'm planning on buying my first kayak. It's coming. Kayak questions are coming, so I know you're the expert. So, planning on getting a kayak. I want to get into tournaments or whatever. I want to buy a bass boat. So anyway, that's what we do on our channel. It's family fun. We fish all over the place. A lot of times we catch, cook, clean, eat as a family, and that's the channel. Please come check us out.
Awesome. Now I will tell you, this is how I found him. A video popped up, and my first thought was, "Oh, hold up, dude fishing with his kids." And I looked, and then I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I immediately went to a lot of people on the channel, and I said, "Hey, y'all, do me a favor. Go check this guy out. Give him a follow. I like what he's doing. He deserves some attention. You know, let's try to help him out." So I will link his channel below. It is, you hear people talk about hashtag real fishing, or, you know, like none of this brand, you know, coerced and just messed up fishing, just literally real fishing, like the fishing you're going to remember you did when you were a kid. That's his channel. So watching, like, I take kids fishing, dude. But being out there fishing with multiple kids, if you haven't done it, you have no idea. You have no idea. Like, this, you might as well not fish. So
anyone that's ever been on a party boat and been saltwater fishing, and that first mate that runs around basically just helping everyone else out and occasionally dropping a line, that's me.
Yep.
We're out there with everybody.
Yep. These videos tend to be very long, so let's go ahead and get into it. So he's got some questions he's going to ask me. If you guys want to do this, shoot me an email or a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Don't do it in the comments. It'll get lost in the comments. But if you want to be a part of this, just drop me a line and let me know, and we will do one of these. So I don't know the questions ahead of time. I don't know how many he has. He might only have 6. Okay, but I don't go through them ahead of time. If it's something that's off limits for the channel and YouTube, we'll just skip it. Okay, so don't worry about all that. But I'm anxious to see what he's going to ask me. So
okay.
It's your show.
Kayaks.
Okay.
I waited to talk to you forever about kayaks because honestly, I really don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I've never been in a kayak. I see a lot of guys fishing in kayaks. I see a lot of guys successfully fishing in kayaks. You're probably one of the guys I watch where you take kayaks and you go fishing everywhere, saltwater and freshwater, right?
Yep.
Even in those creeks. Now, I want to get my first kayak. Okay. Now, it's kind of getting multifaceted. I have the money to spend. All right. It doesn't need to be a superstore kayak or whatever, one of those $400 or $500 deals. Okay. I need a kind of kayak where I can take it on a big lake like a reservoir like Liberty up here in Baltimore, but I also can take something where I want to be able to take it out of like Annapolis and go fish Bay Bridge for like rockfish and stuff like that. So something as my first kayak where I can spend a little bit of money. What would you recommend?
It's funny. I have a friend of mine, and we were talking about doing a video that the perfect kayak doesn't exist. So that video's coming. Myself and Reggie are going to do that video. Reggie sold me my first kayak, actually. See, that the main question, if you have the budget, then the main question is going to be, do you want to paddle it or do you want to pedal it? That is a major consideration both for price and use. I am a purist, and so I like to paddle. Okay, I've got a John boat, I've got other boats, so I'm not interested in putting motors and drive units on my kayak. My kayak it's all terrain, so like I can load my kayak over guardrail. I can literally let it slide down a hill like a sled down to the bottom, bounce off a couple trees. It's going to be okay. It's not super heavy, so I've actually hooked up a rope to my kayaks and walked and portaged or just drug them through the woods. Um, when you go to the bigger kayaks that are pedal driven, then you've got considerations, whereas they are heavier, they are wider. Um, but the positives are like Gone Fishing 804. He just got I think he got a Sportsman PDL. My Bonafide is a heavy boat. My Feel Free is about 70 pounds, maybe 72 pounds with the seat in it. A Bonafide's probably, I got to look up the weight, maybe 90, maybe something like that. But that Sportsman PDL with the pedal drive and everything is legit like 125 pounds. It's like 130 pounds. So it's a big difference. Comparatively, like a small 10-foot sit-in boat might literally weigh 40 pounds. So there's weight considerations. What I will tell you, I've never been a fan of the pedal drive kayaks. When Gone Fishing and I went to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge to fish for flounder and all out on the eastern shore, and we did the mouth of the bay and all, he fished circles around me with a pedal drive kayak, literally. I was constantly caught in current swirls, and the current was pushing me and pulling me, and he could just pedal, and he got more speed, and he could adjust his speed back up without a lot of undue effort in that big water. So I think there's a definite benefit if you're just going to be doing big water to getting a kayak with the drive unit. But the flip side is, if you watch my channel, I do a lot of river smallmouth creeks, shallow backwaters with lily pads, dumps, cypress trees. These are all environments that do not like drive units. You will break Hobie fins, you will break pins in fins, you will shear off propeller blades. I mean, I shear off prop blades on a trolling motor on my John boat fishing these same waters. So kind of got to decide which way you want to go with that. I typically stay away from the drive units, but the market's going that way. There are a ton of drive unit kayaks out there. A Bonafide, about $1,500, and a Bonafide for paddle kayaks is probably like, to me, that's the Cadillac. But I think the lowest you're going to get into for a drive unit kayak, which might be like one of the Lightning kayaks or something, maybe one of the pedal drive, what do you call them? Pelicans, might be a little over $2,000 for just the boat. So, man, you're going to pay more, but you're definitely going to be able to cover water faster and handle big water better if you're in a pedal drive kayak versus a paddle kayak. But it's going to get on your nerves when you want to go shallow or drag it across the field to a pond and it weighs 130 pounds. So what you're talking about doing, like being out there for the striper and all, you would probably appreciate having a pedal drive kayak.
Okay.
The Sportsman, I know Fishtails RVA, another YouTuber, has a Sportsman, has an Old Town Predator PDL, and Gone Fishing has a Sportsman PDL. Those boats are dumb fast. Like, they leave a wake behind them. Those boats are speedy. Fishtails has had his for years with no mechanical issues. Nothing is broken. I know guys who have Hobies who carry spare parts because apparently drive unit or Hobie breaks quite often. There's a pin, like a shear pin, and they break shear pins. They pop chains, that sort of thing. I haven't heard of anybody damaging the Sportsman unless you hit the blade on something really hard and crack it or something. Um, but I guess it's really going to come down to, if you're going to predominantly be in open water, like fishing a big lake or fishing the bay, you probably want to go with something that's got a drive unit in it,
Okay.
especially if you've got the money for it. So it will limit you if you ever want to go like on some of those rocky creek trips I do for smallmouth, because even my Bonafide is not good. It's too much boat.
Okay.
But I mean, I plan on getting another boat because I believe that every boat doesn't fit every situation. But if I had to tell you right now for your first boat, and I know that you're gonna want to go and do the saltwater, get something with the pedal drive.
All right.
Let's go with number 2.
All right. Number 2. You talked about it a little bit. You touched on it. You touched about the Hobie kayaks and the drive kayaks and stuff like that. I know what the companies say about actual depth when you have those. What do you call them? Those fins or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the actual realistic depth on something like that that's got a drive and has little swimmer fins and stuff on it?
I would say, looking at how far I've seen, because like the Hobies, their fins will actually tuck up against the hull, so they'll tuck up almost flat against the boat, and then you would paddle. The other units, you just you lift them up and they lock out of the water. They come up and lock up, and you can put them back down. But I would say probably is a foot. My experience would be about a foot. I know that the Fishtails RVA's Predator PDL, I've seen him paddle, go back in water where I can put my paddle in the mud, about the blade or a little bit more, and I've seen him, paddle through that. So I would say about a foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 12 inches would be okay.
Yeah.
All right. No more kayak questions, I promise.
Don't.
Question about the trout, because I've seen you on videos and stuff on the back bays, and I don't know if that was a video I watched where you were down by Rudy Inlet fishing on those creeks and stuff like that, but
maybe.
I know sometimes you target trout.
Yep.
All right. So I was in OC all weekend and do a lot of saltwater fishing. I haven't yet to catch a keeper trout. How do you target these fish? Because it seems like when you find them, man, you find them in droves and they're big. How do you target them? What are you looking for?
Are you first of all, are you catching small specks? Are you in the area where there are speckled trout?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, so if you're catching small speckled trout, then there are trout in the area. The one thing about trout, at least in Virginia, I have seen this not hold true in North Carolina in the Pamlico Sound. Those trout are just like, you could walk on them down there.
Okay.
But trout do not like sunlight. They're like
Really?
vampires. They don't. Typically, when I want to go and catch trout, I will get to the water before the sun comes up, so that I'm ready to fish like right about 20 minutes before first light. So if you think about it, if you go bass fishing, the time of morning where you throw top waters for bass,
Yes.
that's typically my highest percentage time for catching speckled trout. Overcast days with low wind is also a very good time. But once that sun gets up, then my trout bite dies. It'll pick up again in the evening right before dark. But what I think is that, especially in Virginia, the trout go deep. They do not like bright light. They must have really sensitive eyes. They are very visual in the way that they hunt. But when it's really bright light, they don't like it. But I can think of all of my monster trout have been in that early morning. Like right as the sun starts to turn east orange, that reddish color, when the sun's coming up over the bay, that's when I catch my trout.
Okay.
And they really like grass. So you get grass in the bay, where you have like these potholes. You'll have like a sandy patch and a grassy patch and a sandy patch. Typically, that's where I find my trout. But if you find a lot of bait flipping and you got low light, a paddle tail on a jig head or a top water or a mirror lure twitch bait, typically is what I'll throw.
Okay. You ever find them like deeper, like in the summertime where it's like we catch them during the day? Would you say you switch to some kind of bottom tactic for them?
I actually have caught them, small trout, not keepers, but I've actually caught them in the daytime on bottom rigs, tipped with squid. And I have caught, maybe like 11, 12-inch trout. I've caught them on a bottom rig with squid on it. Yeah. I've even caught them on a piece of gulp on a hook, just bottom rigging for like croaker, and occasionally I'll catch a trout. So they will hit bottom rigs.
Really? You ever catch them straight up top water on like a top water plug or a spook or something like that?
Oh my gosh, yes. Um, there's one bait that I have tested this, and it outperforms every other top water bait that I've ever used for speckled trout. It's a mirror lure. It's a double prop. I talk about it in my videos. It's a mirror lure double prop bait. I'll link it below because I have to think about what it is. But I went out the other day with Fishing Kid and my brother, and I gave him that bait, and I wanted to see how well a whopper plopper would do. Caleb caught a 19-inch speckled trout, hooked another one, and had 2 other blowups that he didn't hook up on. I didn't get a single blowup. I didn't get a single bite on that whopper plopper. Not anything looked at it. And I hear him in the distance in the kayak, fish on, I got a fish, had another fish, and I'm still not getting a bite at all. So I am convinced that that bait, more than any other bait I've ever thrown for top water for speckled trout, my buddy calls it, I mean, he had a name for it. It's probably a name I can't remember, but I don't think I can say it on YouTube. But he's like, what were you throwing? And I was like, and he was like, oh, of course, the other day. That's what he said, because, bomber, badonkadonks and all, we throw those. But that bait, man, I got a video I haven't edited yet. Had like a 24-inch red drum eat that bait off the surface in 8 inches of water.
What?
Oh, gosh. I'll send you, it's not out and the link is private. I'll send you the link to just that section.
Oh man.
I hooked the redfish, and as I'm fighting it back to me, you can see a V-wake from another redfish swimming it off. And then as I'm fighting it close to the boat, I look to the left, and another redfish swims away, and then another one, and I'm fighting a 24-inch fish, and literally 4 other ones just casually swam off from me. And I was in less than 12 inches of water when that fish hit. It was straight combat. It was awesome.
That's nuts. Well, speaking of the bay, I'm gonna stop. We're gonna stop talking about fishing for just like 2 seconds, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna talk about, it's still related to fishing, but we're gonna talk about conservationism in our environment.
Okay.
All this stuff that happened earlier this year with the lockdowns and everything else, it seemed like everybody was out going fishing to the point where there's just like no gear left.
Yes.
There's just nothing left.
Kayaks ran out.
Did they really?
Appomattox River Company, I think in like 40 days, sold 4,700 kayaks. They literally stole through their entire inventory.
What?
And when they got any boats in, they were spoken for within 48 hours.
That's crazy, man.
It's like nothing, because I mean, I talk to the guys at Appomattox River Company all the time, and it was like, we've never seen anything like this. They found boats that they didn't know were in inventory because they cleared out the warehouses so much that they're like, oh, this was back here. And they sold that too. They sold used inventory, everything.
That's nuts. I know my home shop, like our Bass Pro in Baltimore out here, like they literally have nothing. Oh, I said all that stuff to lead up to the conservation question.
Okay.
Everyone went out fishing, and with all this pressure on the fish, and maybe it's just me in Maryland, but I've seen 2 things this year that are really weird to me. One, blue crab population, look, at least up by me, like it's up and it's in a big way, and we're catching like real big keeper blue crabs, like good, like larges. That's the first part. And the other thing we're seeing a lot of, at least that I'm seeing of, is I'm seeing a lot of keeper stripers, rockfish. How do you think? Yeah, a lot. I don't know if it's going on down there, but I'm seeing a lot of good-sized keeper rocks. What's going on down there with it? How do you think it's all affected?
I haven't gotten into any rockfish this year. Usually, where I fish, we usually get into a bunch of smaller rocks, like maybe 17-inch fish. We got into them one time. It was a school of 9 to 12-pound fish. In like 4 feet of water though. Like it was nuts. But the crabbing, we haven't really been doing that good on the crabs. I do know of some changes that happened in the last year to 2 years with the crabs in the bay. So a lot of people don't realize they used to let them dredge for crabs in the Chesapeake Bay. They would dredge for them in the winter. Well, the adult female crabs, they basically hibernate kind of like over winter in these biomass. Like they all come together and huddle on the bottom to hibernate. Well, they would run the nets and dredge them up. Well, now you've lost all these females. Like they really did a number, from what I was told, on the crab population in the Chesapeake Bay because of dredge netting. They no longer allow that, and there was an immediate rebound in blue crab populations in the Chesapeake Bay as a result of that. There was I'm not sure what caused it, but Chesapeake Bay used to have a lot of like crab picking houses around where you know, people would just sit there and shuck crabs and just pack the meat and backfin meat into containers. I think all of them have closed because commercial fishing for blue crabs in the bay drastically fell off. So I think while that's probably really bad for some people who counted on that as their livelihood, I think all of those coming together is why you saw the increase in the blue crab populations in the Chesapeake Bay. I've seen some of the crabs. My sister lives in Bowie, and she goes and buys crabs at the wharf. And she showed me a crab that I'd never seen a crab this big before. And the guy who she got it from called it a swamp donkey. This crab was bigger than her face. She was holding the claws like this in front of the camera.
Whoa.
I was like, I've never caught a crab. We grew up crabbing. I've never, ever seen anything like that. The rockfish in the bay and the crabs kind of have a relationship there. Rockfish eat crabs, and people all long time argued that their rockfish restrictions were too tight, and the populations of rockfish were so great that they were eating everything, and they needed to let people catch more rockfish to balance out. For those of you who don't live where we live, there are political offices, and the entire campaigns are run on crabbing and striper fishing. They are striper fishing, crabbing, and menhaden, which are also called bunker. The people literally, that's their office, that's their platform. Like, these things are political in our states.
I finally had a snakehead.
I haven't gotten one yet. I've gone one time, and actually, Apex Predators, I got a friend there, Chris Evans and him at Apex Predators. We're supposed to be getting together to do a video, but work got busy. I haven't been able to get with them, but dude, they're catching monster snakeheads. I mean, look them up. I'll link them below too, but he's got pictures on his Instagram. He's got one snakehead. I know this thing is 40 inches. Monster. The biggest snakehead I've ever seen. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Where they're out there fishing in Blackwater, right?
I don't know where he's fishing. He hadn't told me. He told me to come up there and he'd take me out, but he's not telling me where he is. So, you know, fishing etiquette. You don't give away your spots.
I don't know, man. You know what? I get beat up sometimes by guys. I don't mind doing that on my channel, especially if people hit me on like IG and they're like, dude, where were you at? I'll tell people. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm old school.
Especially
some spots I will give up, but a lot of them, But I fish a lot of very small places too that can't handle a lot of pressure. Everywhere I fish is public except for one. But you know, sometimes I'll put in quite a bit of work to either pattern the fish or find the spot. And it's just like, oh, now, you know, 40 people, don't take it the wrong way, but now 40 people want to go, and it won't handle that kind of pressure. So I don't typically give them away. Some of them, the more public known spots, like sometimes I can go fishing and people know right away, you know, oh, you were on Kerr, or hey, is that the boat launch on the James? Yep, like 42nd Street on the James. Everybody knows where I'm at. And so they DM me all the time and ask me about it. I'll tell them, because that's a very well-known spot in the city. You know, you can tell by the islands where I'm at, by the way I put the kayak in the launch. It gets a dead giveaway. So, you know, stuff like that I'll give.
So I take it there are no snakeheads in James River yet, right?
They are.
Really? You still haven't caught one?
So if you don't know, we've had a species introduction problem in Central Virginia as well. And the problem has been with people releasing spotted bass and with people releasing snakeheads. I know everyone at Fish and Game. I know a lot of the biologists. I know the director of fisheries for the state. And if he had to pick between the two, which one is worse by far, it is spotted bass, believe it or not. He said the spotted bass are more detrimental to a fishery than the snakeheads are. Spotted bass will actually outcompete and push largemouth out of a body of water. Snakeheads will compete, but just by their nature, not in the way that a spotted bass will. Spotted bass is uber aggressive. It's aggressive in the wintertime. It's aggressive in the heat, and they will dominate. But they don't get as big, but they will dominate and take over a body of water. And someone has put them in Gaston. They are now in Dyson. Someone caught one on the tidal Dyson Creek below the lake, so they're probably in the Chick now. We have snakeheads in the Appomattox, in Swift Creek, in James, in Chickahominy, in Lake Anna, the South Anna River, the North Anna River, the Rappahannock River, Like snakeheads are everywhere. And I don't know why people thought that was a good idea. Hey, I like catching this fish. Let me take it everywhere. That was really irresponsible.
Yeah,
Very.
I'm with you. I'm with you. That's just as bad as just destroying the whole environment with doing everything else in pollution.
But just like with the snakeheads, if you catch a spotted bass now, the state has no limits on them. If you're a catch and keep and cook type of person, you can literally keep all the spotted bass you want of any size. There's there's no moratorium on them. It's like take all of them. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna eat one actually. That's what I want to do. I want to eat it. I want to see if the stories are true.
They're not they're not bad. I did a thing on my channel where I wanted to I caught a bunch of catfish. I mean blue catfish, like invasive catfish. You know what I mean? And I took the snakehead I caught, and the way I did it, because it was fried, both the meats look good. Both of them came out about the same. So if you get good quality eater catfish and you bleed them right away and you put them on ice and you take care of them, you're not going to really taste the difference between a snake and a cat. I mean, it's real same thing. It's white flaky meat. There's really no kind of fishy taste to it.
And keep a walleye too. So
I did that this year.
yeah, they're not that common down here. They're very hard to come by in this area.
Um, Susquehanna, man. I didn't catch it. The expert fisherwoman, my wife did. And the way she kept it and the way she caught it, she had a live line of minnow and a jig head, and she was just kind of messing around. She threw it out there, and I'm talking like 10 feet out. And listen, it was like every bit of a 20-inch, 22-inch walleye.
That would drive me nuts to see walleye sitting on the bottom like that.
Another thing we were talking about, being a bucket list fish with your bowfin. You know, my next thing on my bucket list, I don't want to do, in particular, I want to do in Florida, it's peacock bass.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list too. But the peacocks in Florida are actually a different species. There's like 20 species of peacock bass. The one in Florida, it typically maxes out. Like if you see Monster Mike and them, and they catch like like 7, 8 pound peacock. That's
Yeah.
about as big as that species gets. The one that you see people going for in the Amazon, it's like 30 pounds, is a different species of peacock bass. So apparently there are a lot of species of that type of cichlid, but I don't care. I just want one. I don't have one yet. I want one on top water. Like I really would love to go to the Amazon. Um, but just I don't know when any type of travel like that will even start again right now with the way everything is. So maybe one day. But I think like 6 or 7 days, like a trip like that, it might be like $5,000. That's
Yeah.
steep. That's really steep. You know,
So what's on your bucket list, man, for fish?
what's on my bucket list? Some of it is kind of mundane. Some of it's not. So snakehead, as we just discussed. Believe it or not, a sheep's head. I've never caught sheep's head. I fished for them several times. I haven't gotten one yet. I saw one in Florida, but it was really skittish and spooky, and I couldn't fish for them because the pinfish were eating all my bait. Um, see, I've gotten a snook. I really want a jack crevalle on top water. Like I want to get into a school of jacks on top. Um, I want a peacock. Um, the most exotic fish on my bucket list would be something called a wolf fish. Um, growing up, I used to watch um, The Hunt for Big Fish with um, what's his name? He invented the Whopper Plopper. Larry Dahlberg. The Hunt for Big Fish with Larry Dahlberg, and he would go to the Amazon. He would go to French Guiana and all of them. He was fishing for muskie and making, he was only after monsters. He went like through the jungle, like hacking trees, camping out with locals to fish for something called a wolf fish, the most vicious fish I've ever seen. The way they fished for it, they took a stick and smacked the water and just kept slamming the stick on the water because the wolf fish are such a predator. They come to see what animal is struggling in the river, and then when the wolf fish came up, they would throw their bait out and sight fish for it. Really strong jaw, big teeth, aggressive, like in the creek jungle fishing. That's on my list. And I think the last fish that can say right now that's on my bucket list is a golden dorado. If you've ever seen anybody top water fishing for a golden dorado,
That's a thing?
What? Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. Matter of fact, recently, Ty's Pig Patrol, he did it when he was in South America. There's this one big dam in like Uruguay or Paraguay or somewhere, Argentina, and below in the tail races of the dam, these big, huge golden dorado live in that rapids in the rocks, and they're ripping big musky plugs for them. And these fish are the most violent, but they're beautiful golden, yellow, orange-tailed fish with mouth full of teeth, and they're like the body mass of like a trophy striped bass, but you're fishing for it like you would fish for muskie. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but golden dorado. Look that fish up.
What's your favorite top water? A lot of top waters out there. I like the spook personally. What's your favorite top water out of everything that's available? For, let's say, for bass fishing. What's your favorite for bass fishing?
Oh, that's hard. Because
So many.
because you got this recency thing. Like, what am I throwing now? What's working now? I think that if I had to pick one all time, a Rebel Popar. Rebel Popar. Right now, the bait that I'm find myself throwing most of the time is a Berkeley Chapo. I'm not a big fan of Berkeley. I like their square bills. They tend to make pretty good square bill crankbaits. And this Berkeley Chapo is like a plopper style bait. Sounds, if you go watch the video I did on it, sounds nothing like a whopper plopper. A whopper plopper is much higher pitched compared to this. I actually had somebody message me, said they were watching my video, and their wife yelled down the steps and said, "What is that helicopter show you're watching?" Because it is that loud. It is obnoxiously loud. If y'all haven't seen that video, I will link that in the comments below too, or I'll put it in the video somewhere. But I was throwing a Berkeley Chapo, and actually I got put on the bait by another subscriber. He's actually been in quite a few of my videos. I gotta find his Instagram handle, because if I don't give him a shout out, I will hear from him.
Yeah, man, shout the man out. Let's go.
Sorry, I forgot your Instagram name. Bass and Fool. How did I forget that? Yeah, so Bass and Fool actually put me onto that. So y'all go find him on Instagram under Bass and Fool, one word. But he put me onto that. We were fishing a tournament together on Chickahominy Lake. And I was hooking fish. I wasn't landing them, but he got all of our big fish on that bait, like 3.5, 4 pounders. And I immediately noticed, I said, man, that thing doesn't sound like a whopper plopper at all.
What's your favorite fall? Because we're in the fall run. So what's your favorite fall tactic for catching largemouth?
Largemouth? Flipping jig.
Big largemouth.
Flipping jig.
Flipping jig?
I don't even have to hesitate.
Really? Wow. All right. What colors are we talking about?
I predominantly throw a 3/8 ounce black and blue.
Okay.
If I don't throw black and blue, then I'm typically throwing like a green pumpkin. But probably 99% of the time, if I'm throwing a jig, it's black and blue.
Okay. And what kind of trailer are you using on there?
It varies. Sometimes it's a Rage Chunk. Sometimes it's like a Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl. But I typically like the large flat flappers that move on my jigs. I don't do a lot with curl tails. It's either the flappers that move or just the large flappers that are flat that just kind of undulate as it drops. But I don't do anything that's got a curl tail motion to it typically. Fish that on, of course, I've got a Shimano rod. I fished that on a Shimano Scorpion with 30-pound Power Pro braid.
What would you say for a baitcaster is a good first baitcaster for people?
I'm gonna Shimano. Let me pull it up, because actually, darn it, I had one in the room. I just took it out. So if I go to Shimano's website, and guys, all I use is Shimano, so don't fault me for that, but my reels don't break. I still have them from forever. If you can get an SLX, I think you can get an SLX for about 99 bucks. The Kayaks, depending on how much you want to put into it and whether or not you're, like, seriously, because I wouldn't have bought my Scorpion myself. It was a gift. But I do have Cerados and Siticas, which are, $200 reels, but I put them through the ringer. I use them a lot, and they do not break. They've never failed me. Matter of fact, I still have this. You can clearly tell that is an old design for a reel. That's an old Shimano Sitica.
Looks like it's from the 80s, man.
No, it's early 2000s, late 90s.
Okay.
But this reel still works.
It's
Like I
awesome.
was just using this. I just took it off the reel because I had another reel, so I upgraded. But this isn't even on a rod, but it still works. It's a Sitka 200 from 20 years ago. Still works. And that's why I only use Shimano and Penn. I'm not interested in trying out other brands really. Sorry guys, don't send me a reel. I'm done. I use Penn. Penn doesn't break, and Shimano hasn't broken on me. But if I probably right now get a Shimano SLX for $99. Um, the cast controls on Shimano are just. I know people like other gear. If you've got magnetic cast controls, they will work. But please understand that magnetic cast controls is technology that existed when I was 15. It's like 25 years old. You know,
You,
it's
you're talking
it's
about you're talking about centrifugal braking, or
no. So what it is it's magnets, and as you turn the dial, it puts the magnets closer or further apart to increase the magnetic resistance on the spool.
okay,
The Shimano's have centrifugal braking. So, and Shimano has just developed this over the years, but where you've got the weights that spin out on the reel, and it's like an ice skater. The ice skater puts their arms out, they spin slower, they bring them in closer, they spin faster. So the initial start of the cast, when the spool needs to go, they're in close, so the spool accelerates. But then as that spool speeds up, I don't know if that's going to show up, but those brakes move. They slide out on those pins, in and out.
okay, yeah, you could see that.
Yeah, so they move. You can lock them, or you can unlock them. If you lock them, they don't. They stay close to the spool. If you unlock them, they will move as the spool spins, but they allow the spool to speed up, and then the weight goes out, which controls the spool's revolutions. I think this is a much easier and consistent reel to cast, and pretty much I don't. There's magnetic braking is old technology. Like this is already beyond magnetic braking, and this is at least 17 or so years old, and it's already magnetic braking is just old tech.
Most of the time, I run Abu Garcia stuff just because I got kids. I know someone's gonna step on it. I'm gonna break it. I'm hard on equipment, man. I'm gonna break it.
You know, I
I,
used to be a big fan of Abu. They
mhm.
used to make some really solid stuff. And then right around the time when they started coming out with like the Black Max line and all, you open them up and everything inside of it was made out of nylon and plastic, and they started breaking.
Yeah,
So that wasn't a good look.
I'm with you. I brought like 2 weeks ago. I bought a $130 combo at Daiwa 5000 for saltwater. It's my first non-Abu or Shakespeare or something cheap that I have. I really like it. I had a saltwater pin reel like in the 80s, and that thing was still functioning when I lost it like a couple of years ago.
Dude, I don't know how old my pens are. They're old and they still work. And it's kind of like I want a new pen, but my old ones still work. So if I get a new one, it's not really necessary. It's just a want. So I just keep cleaning them, and the mechanism on the inside is so simple and easy to service. And it's all metal. You know, I know the story about how Shimano overtook Penn. We're not going to share that, but I got that from probably one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met in the world of fishing. Um, she owned and operated a tackle store in Clearwater, Florida, and I'd literally never run across anybody who had the wealth of knowledge of this woman,
Wow.
like mind bending. So she actually had Ernest Hemingway's rod and reel that he used to use deep sea fishing. She had it hanging in a glass case in her shop. She bought it from his estate. I was like, you got Ernest Hemingway's, like the old man in the sea, Ernest Hemingway, you got his fishing equipment. She's like, yeah, I went to his estate auction. And I'm just like kneeling down in front of this woman, like, your majesty, like, what? This woman was on it, man.
That's crazy, man.
All right, guys, that's it. As I said, these tend to run long. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. You are a diehard member of the community, and I appreciate it. If you would like to have an opportunity to participate in one of these and be on the channel, because this channel is nothing without you guys, let me know, and we'll do one of these with you. Also, remember to check out my podcast. Please support the channel. I've got links in the description for discounttackle.com. If you need to buy fishing tackle, please go there. Shopping there will help the channel also. Even if you just watch the commercials. If you're watching my content, just let the commercials play through. Watch my commercials. That'll go a long way towards helping the channel also. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you for being on the video, for doing this with me. You have anything you want to say before you leave?
I just appreciate you having me, man. Swing by my channel, subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell, notify you whenever I'm going live.
You know, that's what I never say. I never tell people to hit the bell, but hit the bell when you subscribe. But I will link his channel below. Again, thank you guys. And as I always say, thanks for watching Way of Fishing. Get out there and fish your way. I will see you guys on the next video. Maybe I'll run across you at the lake. Bye.
See you.